Just some quick advice for you today if you find yourself in a bit of a rut, right? We've all been there. We all end up feeling a little bit slower at times. We feel as though we're not making much progress. We're not really doing the things we know we should be doing, right? And as much as we want to, it's not a case of wanting to do the right things. We have all these goals and these daily actions and habits that we want to, do for ourselves because we know that they are going to make us better people and they're going to help us get towards our goals. But there seems to be this kind of feeling in us where it just doesn't feel motivated. We don't feel as though we want to get out of bed and do the hard work, and everything just feels like a grind. That feeling of like, ugh, like even simple things like maybe cleaning your room just starts to feel like a mammoth task, right? And before we even get into the advice I want to share with you today, just realize that you're not alone. It's definitely not a unique thing that's happening to you. I've myself in the last, let's say, probably last 2 weeks, honestly, it's been a while, like 2 to 3 weeks, I found myself in like one of the biggest ruts that I've been in a long time. And I was quite proud of the fact that, let's say for the last couple months before these 3 weeks, right, I was really in the zone. Like I feel like I developed a routine around my life where I was consistently going to the gym. I was consistently doing the work I was supposed to be doing. I was keeping up with things all right. And I was pretty proud of the life setup that I'd had at the time. But I then, as life happens, right? Life happens to us all. But I ended up going on holiday for about a week. I also ended up in the dark for a week. So if you live in South Africa, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, it wasn't load shedding though. We had a power failure, but it was due to a fire right at the power station down the road. And so I was out without power for like a week. So that meant like running computers was challenging, doing the kind of general routine that I had formed for myself became, like I said, just a pain in the ass, to be honest. And so out of those 2 weeks, I just slipped back into this massive rut, this massive slump, and I just felt like crap, right? I just didn't want to do anything. And I knew, like, in the back of my mind, like, bro, you got to get your ass into gear. You've got to get back out there. You got to start continuing, or you got to keep continuing the work that you've been doing, or else you're going to lose progress, right? And I did. I lost tons of progress in terms of the videos I was making, in terms of the work I do, in terms of the progress in the gym that I was making. It was pretty shitty, right? And so I sat with myself for a week, feeling pretty sorry for myself, as you tend to do when you're in a rut. And I came up with two strategies, or I remembered two strategies or two habits that I'd kind of fallen off with, if I'm being honest with myself. And bro, like I started using these two strategies again in the last couple weeks. And man, I'm totally out of my rut. Like I feel more motivated than ever. I feel ready to go. I feel, just in order, and it feels great. And yeah, I'm back in action. I'm back being productive. And I really want to share these two tips or tactics with you today. If you find yourself in a similar position that I was in, right? And I'm telling you, just give these a bash for like a week. Literally, just stay consistent with these two things for a couple days to a week, and I promise you, your rut will be like non-existent, right? It's super simple, but super powerful, okay? The first strategy, as crazy as this sounds, and I really hope that if you're watching this right now, you're not in winter, because if you are, you're going to hate what I'm about to say, right? But I want you to use your pool, if you're lucky enough to have a pool, or if not, find the nearest body of water that you can. And as soon as you wake up, right, within the first half an hour, I want you to get in the water, right? So for me, I'll show you real quick. There's my pool. It's pretty dirty at the moment, so excuse that. But there is the pool that I have been getting in for the last couple weeks, pretty consistently most mornings. I have missed a morning or two, I will be honest. But man, there is something about a shock to the system, especially early on in the day, that just brings you back to life. I can't explain it. I'm sure there's lots of science to do with cold plunges. And honestly, you may be wanting or been thinking about doing cold plunges for a while. But you think, I don't have an ice bath, or it's so much effort. Bro, forget about that. Fuck it. Just get in your pool. This pool, by the way, is freezing. I'm actually going to check the temperature one day. You wouldn't believe me when I say how cold this pool is. It's awful. It literally feels like a cold plunge, and it's dreadful. But man, when I say that it has given me a boost to my discipline and overall feeling of well-being, it's crazy, right? I get in this pool in the morning, and all of a sudden, I'm just so much more invigorated to get on with the day. It just starts my day in the right zone. And for those of you who follow a lot of self-improvement content, you've probably heard the advice, win the morning, win the day. And it's genuinely probably the best advice you could ever have if you find yourself in somewhat of a rut. And what better way to start your morning than to do something that's super out of your comfort zone. It's such a super shock to the system. It's uncomfortable, but man, oh man, does it just, it's like a reboot, right? It's like, imagine rebooting your phone or your computer. It's kind of the same thing. It just kind of like shakes you out of this horrible rut, right? It's in the word. You're in a rut. You're in the cycle of just not getting anywhere. And when you jump in cold water, your local dam, your local lake, or a pool, or whatever it is, even if you have an ice bath, bro, run a cold bath. Have a cold shower. I think like getting in water is probably better, but have a cold shower if like that's your only option. But I promise you now, when you start your day off doing something difficult, or you start off with like somewhat of a morning routine, but like I said, the more of a shock to your system, the better. You don't want to get up and do all these like silly things like you get up and then you sit and meditate. Like it's great. And ironically, I said meditate, but it's going to be ironic in 2 minutes. But, you know, you get up and you start doing these things like, I don't know, make a cup of coffee and maybe you go on a little walk. And they're great. Like, don't get me wrong. You should be doing those things. But if you find yourself in a position where you need a change, shock your system, get in the pool, have a cold plunge. And it's been tremendously useful for my discipline this week. As hard as it is or has been to do, give it a bash, right? So that's tip number one. Either start with your day with a cold plunge or start with a morning routine. And the second thing, and it's ironic that I just mentioned the word, but this is ironically it's probably been more beneficial than the cold plunge. And that is the fact that for the longest time, I have lost the habit of meditation, right? And you've heard it before so many times, you should meditate. Meditation's good for you. It clears your mind, blah, blah, blah. You just know that it's a decent thing, right? But when I say that you really don't know, like you really don't know, bro, like how powerful meditating actually is. Like, and it doesn't have to be like a half an hour to an hour a day. If you just sit your ass down and do 5 to 10 minutes of simple meditation work every single day from this day onwards, bro, like it's literally transforming not only my life, but it just makes me feel so much more alive. Sounds really crazy. Like I know it's a grand thing to be, like it's a grand claim to be making, but bro, I'd lost the art of meditating for a while, and it's like everything was a challenge, right? All the bad habits, eating junk food, not going to the gym, not doing the business work that I was supposed to do. It was all a hassle. And every time I had a little thought in my head that said, don't worry about the work today, bro. You're tired. You're in a rut. I feel like shit. Just go do something else. I would listen to that voice. I'd be like, yeah, you know, if I thought it, may as well just do it, right? But with meditation, right, what it teaches you is to be very impartial to that little voice in the back of your mind. And if you're willing to be honest, if you really had to be very like break this argument down into its finer concepts, like its core skeletal argument, every time you do a bad habit or you don't do the right things, it's all because of your mind. It's literally the thoughts that you think that create the actions that you do. But where you've most likely forgotten, as I had forgotten, is that your thoughts are just thoughts. They're literally just appearances in consciousness, appearances in this awareness that is you, right? Even if you don't understand like spiritual literature, just think about that for a minute. The thoughts that you experience on a daily basis, they appear. They come and then they go. And the fact that you listen to these appearances, these ghosts, these figments of your imagination, the fact that you take their advice and go with the flow with them is the reason you are not out of your rut. It's the reason you're not productive right now. It's because you are listening to your mind too much. Right? And that's probably one of the greatest pieces of advice I could ever give you on this channel. Stop trusting your own brain sometimes. Genuinely, like when I stopped trusting the thoughts in my head all the time, I became free. It's like I finally became the master of my destiny, because I would have a thought that would say, you know, don't record a video today. Whatever, bro. You know, doesn't matter. Nobody's going to watch it anyways. Big deal, right? And then I would sit there and think, no, but wait a minute. I have a goal to share useful information with people. I have a goal to help people. This is what I want to do. Even if I don't feel like it right now, it's really what I want for myself. It's what would make me proud, and it's what would make me feel purposeful today. And so I think, you know what? Fuck you, thoughts. Get out of here. And it's precisely when you have that little breakthrough, when you realize, oh, wow, it's just a thought. I don't have to listen to it. And you can even extend this to feelings. It's just a feeling. It's not real. I don't have to do things based on how I feel. I can still do the right things, the rational things that I know I'm supposed to do. And the only way to do that is to meditate. But then again, it's not the only way, because in tip 1, if you really think about it, jumping in very cold water is a very useful way to get yourself out of your head, is it not? It's a very useful tactic to be present in the moment, even just for 2 minutes, if you only last 2 minutes in the pool. But you'll notice when you're in that pool, you're not thinking about random thoughts. You're not having existential crises, You're present. You're in the moment. And I think genuinely, that's why I say meditation is probably the best tip here. It does what meditation does. It brings you into the present so you are aware of yourself. And I promise you, bro, just meditating for like the last week or 2 consistently, 10 minutes a day. That's all I've been doing. I'm not here telling you, I've been meditating for an hour. No, bro. 10 minutes is all I've been doing. And I can't even explain that throughout my day, I'll have thoughts. I really feel like going to do this bad thing right now. And then I'm like, oh, and you catch yourself, because that's what meditation is, right? For those of you who are not familiar, meditation isn't silencing thoughts. It's impossible to kill your thoughts. Meditation is the simple act of being a witness to your thoughts, being aware, watching them, as if you were an impartial observer, because you really are. You don't have to go along with the thoughts that ruin your life. So I'm telling you right now, brother, if you are in a rut this week and you start becoming more present via cold plunges and meditation, you really don't need much else to get your life back in order. Because as soon as I became aware of what I was thinking and I gained clarity back in my life with these simple habits, or these simple 2 habits, it's like all of a sudden things are starting to fall into place again. I know exactly what I need to do every day. I do all the things pretty consistently. And when I have moments where I don't feel like it, at least when I want to, like, let's say I want to relax and I don't want to be productive, and let's say I'm genuinely tired that day, I can be aware enough to realize I am tired and I'm going to relax now because I'm tired. I decide that for myself. I'm not letting a thought dictate what I should be doing. It's me. It's me who's saying, you know what, it's time for a rest. I check in with myself and I say, yeah, that's a pretty rational thing to think, and that's a rational thing to do. And so I relax. And I've not only been able to get out of this rut and be more consistent with the stuff that I've been supposed to be doing in this last couple of weeks, but I'm actually enjoying it so much more, simply due to the fact that I am present again. I'm back in my life. I'm not an observer of what's going on around me, because I think when you're in a rut, and you'll notice this, your thoughts are more overactive than ever. You're more judgy. You're more critical. You feel overwhelmed in your head, and it's like you can't get your head out into the real world. But the trick is not to stay in your head. It's to get out of your head. It's to come back to the real world. Shock your system. Get clear on what it is you need to be doing. And just get back into action. That's all you got to do, bro. So I really hope these 2 tips have helped you today. They've tremendously helped me get out of my rut. And yeah, here's to you being successful, productive, and rut-free for a very long time. Cheers, brothers. I'll see you later. Enjoy.